Hey guys, very sad news. This young man who was 22 years old, Amar Javed, died, and the death seems to be a homicide, very suspicious. It was a house fire, but when the fire was put out, the firefighters found this young man all charred, and the coroner's office was there. The police department said he was beaten up. So I'm sure that they are now looking into this death. It looks like if it was some type of homicide, that someone unalive him and then try to cover up the evidence by setting him on fire. Now, who could have done such a gruesome act to beat this young man? He haven't even lived his life yet, just 22. So they beat him and then set him on fire. Now, the question is, was he alive when he was set on fire, or was he already unalive? Because families want to know that type of information. They want to know if their loved one suffered. Now, this young man was an ex-Carbon Nation member, and a lot of the Carbon Nation ex-members are coming out now and speaking. One of the members was given an accounting, and she said when she was there, he slept outside of Nature Boy's door to run any type of errands in the middle of the night, whenever, whatever it is he needed, at any time during the night, even if it was to go get him a drink of water. He would sleep right outside his door and be like a humble servant. And I'm saying to myself, what young man would do something like that? I mean, it has to be, like I said before, there's some people who like to be servants to others. They play that role, and it's like a make believe world that they put themselves in. I don't care what Carbonation was calling it, that these people were his servants or whatever. I think these people who did that was actually fulfilling a need in themselves, because the same young woman said that Nature Boy spat in, I think she said it was a glass of water, and made him drink it. He also put him in a closet for 3 days, and he stayed there for 3 days. These were the type of things that Nature Boy did to this young man. And he took it, and 2 months ago, he got on the internet and he was saying that he was still loyal to Nature Boy. So whenever Nature Boy was due to come out, he would be one of the ones waiting on him. That's how loyal he was to Nature Boy. But I noticed in one of the videos that he did, the entire video, he was quiet. I think it was like a 20-minute long video. He was silent the entire time. But I looked in his face, I looked in his eyes, and he was so depressed. Another video, he was crying. And he was asked why he was crying by one of the viewers. And he said, "Oh, I was just acting." No, that was not acting. This young man was depressed, okay? When you look at his face in these videos, he was depressed, he was lost. It's almost like if he was going through the loss that Nature Boy was no longer there for him to cater to him. Now, I'm not going to speak ill of the dead because he is deceased, he lost his life. It looks like if it was suspicious, and a lot of people are saying maybe it was an ex-Carbon member that did it. If that's the case, you have to ask yourself, was there probable cause? And if so, what was the probable cause? Now, another member got out and said this young man stole a bunch of stuff before he left Carbon Nation. Let's listen to that clip.
What make you lie to yourself like that? In one breath, literally on the phone with Chief earlier today, talking about, man, Chief, I got you. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on this. We're going to get you out. Da 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 da. He answering phone calls. He doing this, setting up that. And then all of a sudden, you grab your bag, the hard drives, and the phones, and the money, and just run off in the middle of the night. Watch out for Loyal, man. He out here scamming people for money. About an hour ago, he just ran off with 3 of our phones. which was logged into the Cash App because he was acting as one of Chief's assistants, as well as our hard drives with the knowledge backed up on them. And he also has access to all of our social media platforms, the usernames and passwords, all our emails.
Okay, guys, we have just established motive. These ex-members had a motive to unalive him because he stole money, passwords, etc. to gain access into their accounts. So we just established motive. Now, who could have done it? This is a who done it. That's the question. But you see, this young man, Amar, is not here to defend himself. He was accused of thievery right after Nature Boy went to jail. And I don't know if he ever got out and said that he did not take any money or he didn't steal anything. I don't know. Let's hear one of his philosophies. Some of his beliefs, some of his philosophies. Let's listen.
Despite what you've been told and what you may have heard, homosexuality has a divine purpose on earth. Homosexuality is actually common all throughout nature. It is very natural. It is a homophobia in humanity that's not natural. In indigenous times, these beings were revered, looked at as gods and goddesses, because they were understood to have brought a divine message to a community. These beings aren't to be outcasted. These beings are to be worshipped. These beings came here to help us. The homosexual spirit is here on earth because there's an imbalance between masculine and feminine energy. These beings came to help restore that. And what people don't seem to understand is that karma is understood mathematically. The energy that you put into this universe is always going to come back to you. It might not come back to you in the same way, but it's always going to return to you in some way, shape, or form. This reality is a mere reflection of your mind. And everything that you're experiencing, you're doing it to yourself. There's no invisible entity to blame, and there's nobody else to blame. It's for you to take responsibility of your own life and understand that it's your actions that put you in the situation that you're in. And we simply understand this through the Hermetic principle of cause and effect. Every action that you take has an equal reaction. In order to change the reality that you're experiencing, you simply need to change the way that you're thinking and the way that you're moving.
So, folks, because of his philosophy on homosexuality, a lot of people were inclined to think that he and Nature Boy was having a relationship. And this is why he would sleep outside of his door and cater to him the way that he did. And he put up with a lot of abuse, like Malia. Nature Boy and Malia had a very special relationship of master and servant. And this particular young man, Amar, had the same type of relationship with Nature Boy. Now, whether or not an ex-member, Carbonation member, unalive him is a different question. I'm tending to believe none of them did it. I am tending to believe that he lived out there in Canada, got himself into trouble, and maybe he owes someone money or some type of drug deal went bad. Who knows? Young people are into all sorts of things these days, okay? He was only 22 and he was trying to start his life over. A lot of people, when they're trying to start their life over, they do a jump start. Instead of doing things the traditional way, they try to do things the quick and fast way. So this is all alleged. I don't know what he was into, but all that we know is, according to the police, there was bruising all over his body, indicating he was worked over. Someone beat him up, or a couple of people beat him up before they set him on fire in that house. So folks on the internet is just running with the narrative that somebody, some ex-member did it. It's a whodunit caper, folks. And I hope they don't start pointing fingers at each other because it would be a disservice. People are trying to heal coming out of this crazy cult. And unfortunately, a lot of people are still in their healing stage, okay? It's not even 2 years that Nature Boy has been in jail. It's a year and some months. And it's relatively fresh. So people are healing still from what they went through. And for anybody now to accuse them of this unaliving would be a disservice. So I hope people don't jump on that bandwagon and start accusing. So let's leave it up to the authorities out there in Canada. They're going to get to the bottom of it, hopefully, because we know there are a lot of unsolved crimes. But hopefully, they come to a resolution in this case. They get the culprit or culprits who did it. And that person will have their day in court to answer manslaughter charges. But let's leave it up to the authorities and stop with the accusing some ex-Carbon Nation members when we don't know for sure. Because I've heard a few people already saying that definitely it's someone from the cult, an ex-member. And oh, all kinds of theories are going around there on the internet already. And I hope people don't jump on that bandwagon and really breathe life into it, because it's doing ex members a disservice. Because, like I said before, these people are still in their healing process. And to be accused of a crime like this might drive them over the edge. Because a lot of people are very fragile right now. They don't know where to turn because they thought this cult was all knowing and all seeing, and this is the Messiah. And a lot of people were let down. And they're like this young man, Amar. I could see that he was still trying to find himself. He didn't know where to turn. He was lost. This is why he was on the internet crying. And you can see the sadness in his face because he really honestly believed that he had found utopia. Come to find out it was hell on it was a living hell. And because I believe he had such a closeness to Nature Boy, he was missing him. He missed the whole cult scene. That's what I believe, because he was still loyal to the end. 2 months ago, he was still saying he was loyal to Nature Boy. And so a lot of people are like him, but they're quiet about it. These people are very fragile. So to accuse them of a crime might drive them over the edge. So I hope we stop that nonsense of accusing. All right? Because I heard it over the internet today. Now we have established motive. Not because we have established motive means that anybody is guilty. Any ex-Carbon Nation member is guilty of trying to get even for him allegedly stealing, because that wasn't proven either. So hopefully people did not take matters into their own hands and do vigilante justice. I'm hoping that did not happen, because a lot of times when we jump to conclusion and we are the judge, the jury, and the executioner, sometimes we are wrong, and an innocent man could have been unalive for no reason. So I'm hoping it's not true and no ex Carbon member was involved in this gruesome crime. But we are sending condolences out to the family, and may God rest his soul that he can finally be at peace. People can speculate all they want to speculate about who unalive him and who was involved, all kinds of conspiracy theories. But the fact remains, when these people left Carbonation, everybody went their separate ways, pretty much. And he's all the way in Canada, so not a lot of people are keeping in contact with him to know what he's doing in his day-to-day life and activity. Now remember, a lot of people left Carbonation with nothing because they handed over all their money, their credit cards, and everything. When they left Carbonation and went home because Nature Boy was in jail, they went home with nothing. They had to start all over again. A lot of them had to go back to their mamas and their papas and family members' houses. Same family member who they dogged out, who they cussed out, who they ostracized, who they didn't want anything to do with because Nature Boy told them to. Okay? And they had to eat humble pie and run back home to these people. So when I looked at this young man's face, there was such sorrow and sadness and depression. That's what I saw. I don't know what he was wrapped up in out there in Canada. Or maybe he wasn't wrapped up into anything. Maybe because we know Nature Boy is very mean spirited, and probably he figured, okay, I'm in jail. They are not going to live the good life off of what I created. Maybe Nature Boy instructed him to go get the money and the computers and everything, the hard drive, and to leave everybody in a lurch. Maybe it was Nature Boy who instructed him to do that because he was a loyal servant, right? His name was Loyal and he truly was loyal. So I wouldn't put it past Nature Boy to give that order to go get everything, including the money, and leave everybody fending for themselves because he was nasty and mean spirited that way. And what made me come to that conclusion, I mean, it's a hypothesis, it's a theory, right? It's not absolute. What made me say that is when Aaron said, you were just talking to Chief the night before, and you just all of a sudden in the middle of the night took everything, including the money, and left. So the last person he was talking to was Nature Boy. Hours before this alleged crime took place. That's why I said Nature Boy probably instructed him to take everything. So no one knows for sure, and I'm just shooting the breeze trying to come up with theories as to why he took the money, if he did take it, and all these laptops and stuff. Anyway, getting back to the crime scene. So it looks like if the evidence was all over that room, whatever room they beat him up in, there was too much evidence, so they decided to cover their tracks by burning him and burning maybe the room. Because I'm looking at the house, I don't see the house burnt. They said the house caught a fire, but everything is intact. When a house catch a fire, the windows and everything gets blown out, right? But I'm just looking from the front way. Maybe it caught a fire in the back. And maybe the windows are blown out in the back and the roof is gone. And maybe the house caught a fire from the back way, not from the front, because I'm looking at the front. And I don't see the damage that I was expecting when they said, okay, the house caught a fire, the fire department is there to put out the blaze and all of that. I don't see the house from the front way being in no type of fire because the windows are intact. I don't see the holes in the roof. I don't see none of that. Melted siding. And that was that person's way of covering their tracks. They burned him up with whatever evidence. Maybe it was so messy that they had all their fingerprints all over after working him over and beating him up. They did not know probably what they touched. And so, in order to cover their tracks with all the evidence, because you can only erase but so much if you're not being mindful that you're touching a chair, you're touching a couch, you're touching a wall, you know? So they had to cover their tracks. So whoever did it burned him up in the house and think they burned the evidence. Well, let me tell you something. Modern technology is something else. I'm sure they're going to get some type of evidence in that fire on whoever it was that worked this young man over. So it's evident, according to the police department, that he was beaten because he had bruises all over his body. But now they have to determine if he was alive when he was set on fire or was he dead already. And that can be done by first the mouth and the throat. or examined for evidence of soot. If if soot is there, that means the person was alive and they breathed in the smoke and all the soot. And then the coroner is going to go to the lung tissue, and that will reveal microscopic evidence of smoke inhalation. So we know that he was dead when they discovered him in the house. And it was evident that he was worked over and he was burnt up in the house. But was he alive before they set his body on fire? Or was he already unalive? That is the question. Now, getting back to the hard drive. Now, we know that Nature Boy is bisexual. No telling what was on the hard drive. It could have been incriminating evidence of him beating women or beating men or sodomy or some type of incriminating evidence, maybe some type of fleecing of people out of money, maybe conversations. We don't know what was on the hard drive. And I would tend to think that Nature Boy instructed that young man, Amar, to go get that hard drive and get out of there. And since he was leaving and needed a plane ticket, he had to take money also. And he took the cameras because the cameras have evidence of pictures and videos that Nature Boy probably didn't want to get out. So this is in my mind. This is what I'm thinking. That it was not random that he took these things. He was instructed to take them and to leave immediately. So let's listen to what Aaron had to say one more time concerning when he spoke with Chief. Because even Aaron said, you just spoke with Chief last night. So how can you just run out like that with everything? Because Chief instructed him to take everything and run out. Allegedly. I don't know for sure, but it sounds plausible.
What make you lie to yourself like that? In one breath, literally on the phone with Chief earlier today, talking about, man, Chief, I got you. I ain't, you know what I'm saying? I'm working on this. We're going to get you out. Da 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 da. He answering phone calls. He doing this, setting up that. And then all of a sudden, you grab your bag, the hard drives, and the phones, and the money, and just run off in the middle of the night.
So it sounds like if the same day, that same night, the day that he talked to Chief, the same night he ran off with the hard drive and the money. And I believe he was instructed to do so by Chief, okay, by Agilio. Now, like I said before, the reason why he took the money is because he had to catch a flight out of there back to Canada. And where else was he going to get the money from? He had to steal the money to get out of there. And I'm sure Chief okayed that too, because this young man was so far up Chief's behind that he could not tell the forest from the trees, okay? There was no sunshine in his eye. It was all dark. So bear with me, guys. This is another scenario. Hear me out and drop your comments in the comments section. Tell me what you feel and think, okay? Now I'm looking at his name, Amar Javed, right? Amar Javed, which tells me he either have Pakistani heritage or Indian heritage. Now I don't know where he was born, but he looks Indian to me. Now Amar Javed, the first name Amar tells me that he probably was born into the Muslim faith, although he chose another path. And when you are born into the Muslim faith and all your family is Muslim, especially coming from a place like Pakistan or India, any one of those places, they are so devout in the religion that they would unalive you if you step out of line, okay? So I'm thinking this might have been done by a family member, believe it or not. Because remember, he ran off to Carbonation and disgraced the family and all kinds of innuendos coming out about him, homosexuality, thieving from the cult, running off with the money and the hard drive. And the family is listening to these videos, folks, believe it or not. They are listening. because their loved one is in the cult and came out of the cult. So they want to know what went on. So they're listening to all the videos and tapes. And this young man is home and he disgraced the family. He came back after he said he swore he wasn't going to come back, because most of them, I'm sure, told the family, I ain't coming back. I'm going to Utopia. I'm going to meet the Messiah. So when he comes back now, the family's disgraced. You guys know Indian families and Pakistanis and all of them cultures, okay? They get disgraced very easily. And if you disgrace the family, a lot of times you pay with your life. So I would not put it past. This is all alleged. I wouldn't put it past a family member. So this might have been an honor unaliving to do him in. The reason why I'm saying that is because I laid out the scenario that I just told you guys about. Another reason why I said it might have been a family member, because I'm looking at the house. The house was not caught on fire. The house was not caught on fire. The young man was caught on fire, and stuff in that room was on fire. If you look at the house, windows weren't blown out. The roof was not caught on fire, didn't cave in. The windows are intact. You guys know when there's a fire, the windows are blown out because of the heat. None of that happened. Look at the house and look at the house closely. The house is intact. The young man caught a fire, and that room probably that he was in caught a fire. That tells me it was a controlled fire. Whoever burned him up just wanted him to be burnt up. They didn't want the house to go up. Now, if it was like a drug dealer or an ex-carbon nation member, or somebody who he owes money to, and a random person out there, when they come to burn you up, they don't care about the house. They're not saving nothing. Everything is going up in flames. But like I said before, maybe the house caught a fire from the back way. That's why we're not seeing the damage in the front. So I would not be surprised if a family member gets arrested because he disgraced the family by going off to America and joining a cult. That's a big disgrace in the Indian and Pakistani community. And we've seen it on television, all these honor unaliving, where if a girl don't marry who the father said they should marry, they get unalive. If they disgrace the family in any way, the boys as well as the girls in any way, and they bring disgrace upon the family, the uncle, the nephews, everybody going to unalive that person. So the police department did a physical examination and just looked at the body, just on the fly, and they said, okay, there's bruising all over. He was worked over. He was beaten. But was he alive when he was set on fire, or was he already deceased? It's very important for family members to know these facts, because especially when it comes to arson and someone burning up alive, family members want to know, because they want to know if their loved one had actually suffered. So the newspaper article says that firefighters worked on a house fire at 99 Court Street on Monday morning in Oshawa. One person died in the fire, and that Oshawa Fire Chief Derek Clark called suspicious, and that Durham police have identified a man whose death in an Oshawa fire has been declared a homicide. And that man has been identified as Amar Javed, who is 22, of Oshawa, and he has been identified as the person whose body was found after a fire at the address on Court Street on March the 6th. And police said in updating the case, March the 23rd, that police had earlier issued an appeal for information on the man's identity, which tells me he could not have died at family's home. He could not have died where his family lives, because of course they would know his identity. He must have died in some rental room or rental apartment, and when he was burnt up, everything went up in flames, all his identity. So the police could not identify the body at the time. But you would think if you're renting a place before you get the apartment, you would have to show your identity. The landlord would take all the information, and so they would have that on record. So I don't understand. Was he squatting? Why didn't the landlord have identification about him? And if he was at family, how come they don't know his date of birth, etc.? So this is not adding up to me. If he was renting, how come the landlord didn't have his identity? If he was with family, how come they did not provide his identification, like his name? I understand they might not know his social, you don't put those things to memory, but at least his birthday, they would know that. So something is not adding up here. Why would the police put it in the papers if anybody knew his identity? Anyway, guys, drop your comments. You can weigh in on this subject. I'd like to know what you think, what you feel. So, condolences to the family. We're sorry for your loss. May he rest in peace. So, YouTubers, I'm over and out. Don't forget to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and once again, sending condolences out to Amar Javed's family. May he rest in peace.